Morning and welcome to our Wednesday, May 14th Commissioners Meeting. If you'll join me in the pledge and a quick prayer. Lord, we give thanks for the opportunity you have given us to serve our community. We ask that in doing this service, you grant us wisdom and sound judgment making decisions for our county. These things we ask in your name. Amen. And right now we are going to have a recess of our meeting and allow the Shenandoah FFA team to come up and do a presentation, and we will reconvene when they are finished.
Good afternoon, America, and welcome to a special report on the future of the American diet. My name is Gabby Patrick, and I'm here reporting live from the Paymore Grocery in Mechanicsburg, Indiana for Channel 82 News. Can Americans afford to eat healthy? It's a question that goes beyond just dollars and cents. It's about household finances, access, education, and priorities. I believe that the vast majority of Americans desire to eat healthy. Can they afford to do so? I personally do not know of a family in our community that has not experienced the pain of higher grocery bills. Today, we will examine the pros and cons of two key segments of food production. The first area of discussion is ultra-processed foods, and the second is organic food production. It is important to define both areas of discussion. Ultra-processed foods are industrial formulations made from substances derived from foods along with additives to enhance flavor, texture, and shelf life. Examples include chips, soda, candy, and prepackaged meals. Organic food refers to agricultural products grown and processed according to specific standards that regulate environmentally sustainable resource conservation and the avoidance of synthetic inputs. Dairy products, vegetables, fruits, and meats can all be considered organic under specified government guidelines. Today, we are going to ask some local shoppers their thoughts on if America can afford to eat healthy. Question 1. Should ultra-processed foods have a significant role in the American diet? Let's see if any shoppers will be willing to share their thoughts. Would any of you be willing to share your thoughts on the question?
I'd be happy to.
Tell the audience your name, please.
My name's Clara, and I'm from Mechanicsburg.
What are your thoughts on ultra-processed foods?
The truth is, I still purchase a lot of ultra-processed foods, mostly for convenience. I'm in college, I'm single, and highly processed foods save time, and that's a big deal. Ready-to-eat snacks and meals allow me to eat on the go. I also think that a lack of available fresh foods close by forces many people to shop at their local convenience stores. Going to my local Dollar Tree saves time, gas, and they have relatively low prices on ultra-processed foods. I read that according to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 82% of the households in America, the adults work away from home. Quick and easy meals are a big help.
Thank you so much, Clara. Does anyone have any other thoughts? Miss, what do you think?
While I certainly understand the convenience aspect, the picture isn't entirely rosy. I work for the Mechanicsburg Civic Theater, and I am very aware that one of the biggest drawbacks of highly processed foods is poor nutritional value. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that over 75% of the food energy consumed by Americans was from processed foods. My understanding is that processing can strip foods of vitamins and minerals, and while some nutrients may be added back, it's impossible to recreate the food's original nutritional value. This can lead to deficiencies in vital nutrients necessary for good health. Furthermore, processed foods are typically low in dietary fiber, which is crucial for digestive health, blood sugar regulation, and maintaining a healthy weight.
Thank you so much, AJ. It looks like you've done your research. Those are some very good points. Anybody else?
I have some thoughts I think are worthwhile.
And Jivar?
Hi, I'm Kylie Lids, and I'm a single mom with a toddler.
Well, Kylie, the mic is yours.
In my single parent home and with my work schedule, two factors come in mind: affordability affordability and accessibility. Processed foods are often much more cheaper than fresh produce, making them a more valuable option for people on a tight budget like me. They have a longer shelf life, which means less food waste and fewer trips to the grocery. I read a study by Harvard that found eating an unhealthy diet costs $3 more per person per day than an unhealthy one. For families living paycheck to paycheck, that is a big deal. The cost of fresh produce, lean proteins, and whole grains can be far much more expensive than processed foods, and my kids will at least eat store-bought meals.
But what about the long-term effects? Hi, I'm Kaylin Lynch, and I can see Kylie's point. However, you have to consider the long-term cost. I'm a nurse, and unhealthy eating habits can lead to conditions like obesity, heart disease, and diabetes, things that come with high medical expenses. According to the National Blood, Lung, and Heart Institutes, Americans are spending $50 billion per year just to keep up with their diets. Specifically, 45% of all heart-related deaths come straight from the food that we're eating daily. The food that we're putting in our cart today is also genetically modified and engineered to have higher sugar and salt levels, which leads you and me to overindulgence. And that makes it really hard to maintain that balanced diet that we're all striving to maintain.
Thank you for this food for thought. Are there any other comments on the ultra-processed food issue?
I have one that I think deserves to be heard.
The mic is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie, and I live in Middletown. I know that ultra-processed foods have many health concerns, but I also believe they have certain health advantages. While many find it hard to believe, food safety and preservation play a significant role in the success of ultra-processed foods. Truly, fresh food needs to be stored correctly and eaten quickly. Ultra-processed foods have long expiration dates due to a variety of processing techniques which eliminate or inhibit the growth of harmful microorganisms, making food safer. The addition of preservatives like salt and chemical additives helps prevent the growth of bacteria, molds, and yeasts. Unfortunately, fresh fruits, vegetables, and meat have a much higher occurrence of bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli. The bottom line is that ultra-processed foods have a much better track record with foodborne illness and storage success than fresh foods.
Thank you so much, Maddie. We have time for one more person to share their thoughts on ultra-processed foods.
I've got this one.
Close.
My name is Kylie Purcell, and my husband and I farm outside of Sulphur Springs with our 3 kids. I believe Maddie's correct as far as she goes. However, ultra-processed foods are guilty of certain additives that are being re-examined as potential health risks. The issues of these questionable additives being used to improve appearance, taste, texture, and shelf life is not necessarily good for anyone. Manufacturers add artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives to increase sales and profits. Although approved by regulatory agencies, the long-term health effects of these additives are still being debated. The Mayo Clinic states that these additives are not healthy for anyone. Synthetic food dyes have been in the news recently. Studies have found that dyes are linked to hyperactivity and attention deficit issues in some children, and my kids are already hyper enough. Oh yeah, with this health cost, is it any wonder that the Health Department and Human Services is proposing to ban all petroleum-based food dyes?
Thank you so much, Kylie. Thank you all for your insights, but if y'all don't mind hanging around, I have one more question. Many people assert it is impossible to eat healthy without organic produced foods. Should Americans forego traditional food choices, even fresh foods, and design their daily consumption only around organic foods? AJ, if it's okay, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. One of the advantages of organic foods is the absence of synthetic pesticide and fertilizer residue in the food. I saw a report by the London Clinic of Nutrition that stated that the levels of pesticide residues found in food was eye-opening. Amongst many others, they found that 100% of conventionally grown oranges, 53% of lettuce, and even 33% of cereal bars were contaminated by multiple pesticide residues, with the World Health Organization and dozens more saying that the health risks of farm chemicals is significant. I pay attention. Organic produce can be especially important for vulnerable groups like children and pregnant women, who can be even more sensitive to pesticide residues. Additionally, organic livestock are raised without antibiotics, reducing consumers' exposure to antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The health benefits make organic foods an easy choice for my family.
Thank you for being so knowledgeable, AJ. Kylie Lutz, do you have any comments on organic?
I do. There are serious downsides to eating all organic. The most obvious one is cost. Organic foods are often 20 to 60% more expensive than conventional options, and they really jumped with inflation. That's according to Leaning Tree analysis that found organic foods had steep price hikes last year, as prices for organic fruits and vegetables rose 13.1%, while conventional produce rose less than 10%. Organic eggs and meat almost doubled. This price difference is due to more labor-intensive farming and stricter regulations. These can be significant drawbacks. Eating healthy isn't always about buying organic products. With a little planning and creativity, nutrient-rich meals can be made on a budget.
Kaylin, you look like you'd like to jump in. What are your thoughts on organic?
I would, thank you. I can see Kylie's point, but the cost difference doesn't seem as critical when you look at all of organic's advantages, the biggest being that it's generally better for the environment. Organic production promotes biodiversity, increases soil health, and reduces pollution from chemical runoff. This sustainable approach not only protects ecosystems, but helps conserve our natural water resources. A study by the Rodale Institute stated if we took 10,000 medium-sized farms and turned them to organic production, it would put as much carbon back into the soil as we took 1 million cars off the road. Organic production is sustainable agriculture in the purest sense. And can the environment really afford the cost of not going all organic?
Thank you so much, Kaylin. Maddie, what are your thoughts?
A big concern is the limited availability and shorter shelf life of organic production. The availability of organic food is dependent on where you live, how much money you have, and if organic is even sold in your area. Urban regions, especially, in fact, a study by Illinois Tech in Chicago stated that almost twice as many of those with lower incomes reported they do not buy organic. Urban regions, especially those with higher income populations, often have a greater access to organic options through specialty stores and farmers markets. In contrast, rural areas face limited availability of organic production. I rely on convenience stores that stock primarily processed foods that store well. Organic produce has a shorter shelf life because it does not contain artificial preservatives and will spoil faster, leading to more food waste.
Thank you so much. Kylie, do you have any comments on the taste of organic food?
Absolutely. There are certainly some people that argue that organic food tastes better. Although taste is subjective, the idea of organic farming methods, which focuses on plant diversity and soil health, resonates with many people. Additionally, organic produce has to be fresher because it doesn't contain preservatives. Factors such as freshness, ripeness, and personal taste can all enhance someone's perception of flavor. The biggest difference may be between our ears. Cornell University did a study that stated that people ranked foods labeled as organic as tasting better, lower in calories, and more nutritious, even when there's no actual difference between the samples. This phenomenon, known as the halo effect, states that the organic label alone can enhance perceived taste and quality.
Thank you so much. Well, Clara, any final thoughts?
I'd like to come back to Kaylin's thoughts on the environment. While organic farming is certainly better for the environment in some ways, it requires more land to produce the same yield as conventional farming. This directly contributes to deforestation and habitat loss, especially if organic methods were to scale up significantly. USDA survey data shows that organic methods had lower yields and higher total economic costs by an average of 18 to 24%. This is because organic methods avoid synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, which are essential and highly effective to boosting crop growth and protecting against pests and diseases. We cannot afford to lose the land needed to produce organic products. It would be an ecological disaster.
Thank you so much, Clara. I cannot thank our shoppers enough for willing to share their thoughts on the question, can Americans afford to eat healthy? In summary, highly processed foods are a double-edged sword. They offer convenience, affordability, and safety, but they also pose potential health risks due to poor nutritional value, addictive qualities, and artificial additives. It is much the same with our second question. Organic food offer clear benefits, like reduced chemical exposure, environmentally sustainable, and potentially better taste. However, they also come with challenges like shorter shelf life, lower productivity, and higher costs. Can Americans afford to eat healthy? We have heard several key factors for consumers to consider, whether it's the cost, accessibility, or the convenience. The American consumer must decide if they can afford the money, time, and nutritional value of their choices. However, that choice is their own. This is Gabby Patrick signing off for Channel 82 News. Have a great day.
Settled in now. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes previous meeting? And if so,
We'll call the meeting back.
we're fine.
We're good. Okay, sorry.
Yes, we'll unrecess. How's that?
No, no,
Make you feel
my
better?
fault.
Do I have a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Approve the minutes previous meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the claims? And if so, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been
Second.
made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Commissioners had an opportunity to review the payroll, and if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up, Mark Cronk, Jerry Walden for an update on the land bank. I don't see either one of them here. Okay. Let's see. Next, we have the clerk's monthly report. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. We also have the IT's monthly report. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next up, Mr. Murphy.
Good morning, Commissioners. A couple weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, I gave you a copy of the State Road 109 corridor plan. And I wanted to come back and ask you to send your comments After this meeting, I'm gonna send you an email that lists the consultant's name. It's Scott Siefker of Taylor Siefker Williams. If you'll send your comments to him, no later than 1 week from today. And I'll put that in the email. The second item is the County Redevelopment Commission. We need to appoint, or actually you need to appoint a school board member. And I wanted to talk about process on how you wanted to do that. I could go out and engage with the school board members to see if anybody's interested and bring you back a list of names and you can pick from that. That was my proposed procedure. It's a non-voting position on the County Redevelopment Commission, appointed by the Board of Commissioners. The pay is like the other members of the Redevelopment Commission, it's zero. The school board with the most overlapping taxing AV is probably South Henry. Any school board would be eligible, but in terms of the shared assessed value between a school corporation and the County Redevelopment Commission, it's likely the South Henry School Board. Doesn't have to be them, but if you say, go find some names, that's where I would go first to see if there's an interest.
Discussion?
I like that strategy.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay, thank you. So at your third and final item, at your last meeting that I was here, I talked about Ready One and the 190,000 that was previously allocated to the YMCA before and after school child care expansion program. And the region has made the decision to withdraw that 190,000 from that project due to timing concerns, basically schedule, how quickly the money could be drawn down, how quickly the money could be spent. And so because timing is an issue, I have asked the region to consider applying that 190,000 to the residential development project at the corner of 200 North and State Road 3. Earlier this year, the county went through a Economic Development Commission tax increment finance bond approval process. So it is that residential development project on the southeast quadrant, I have to think, the southeast quadrant of 200 North and State Road 3. Formerly known as Sam Hall Estates, the builder has requested that it be renamed Ashbury Fields. So it's kind of like the artist formerly known as Prince, right? So it's Ashbury Fields, formerly known as Sam Hall Estates. And so that's where we are proposing to put that 190,000, which is much needed, which leads me into the impact that Senate Bill 1, now Senate Enrolled Act 1, had on that project. So very quickly, by way of reminder, the primary funding source for the public infrastructure, not the homes, but the public infrastructure, road, water, sewer, drainage, to support the construction of the homes was a bond, debt. And that was payable from two sources. The primary source was the taxes generated off the new home construction. So there was a TIF area placed there. And as the new homes were built, the taxes would be collected. That money would go to pay the debt for that public infrastructure. The second source was the developer. So if the bond can't be paid, the developer's on the hook. So a fair amount of risk there. The redevelopment commission was contributing some upfront capital to it. So prior to SB 1, the bond amount was $1,557,000. $1,557,000. After the bond, because of the change in property taxes, it's $1,020,000. So in round figures, 1.5 to 1 million. So that is a gap of 537,000. And so that is the real impact of a project on a project that the county's been working on for over 2 years. So the proposed way to close this gap, still subject to some approvals, is the Ready One funds at 190,000. That's 35% of the gap. An additional developer contribution of $285,373. That's 53% of the gap. And then tomorrow, I'm asking the redevelopment commission to approve an additional contribution of $61,627. That's 12% of the gap. The bond purchaser is the Indiana Finance Authority Residential Infrastructure Fund Program, or IFA RIF. That was funded by the General Assembly in the current budget. The budget is getting ready to expire, right? So 2 years ago, the General Assembly created a program to support residential development all across the state. And they gave the Indiana Finance Authority $50 million. And they also said, let's give extra points to rural communities. It was oversubscribed. It's a fantastic program. So we applied in December of 24. We were one of 12 projects selected. And I'm told that we're over 100 submitted. So the Indiana Finance Authority, using a tool that the General Assembly funded, I'm hard on the General Assembly. It was a really nice tool. No sarcasm. We take advantage of it. Also, we're using residential TIF. That bill was authored and championed by our own state senator, Jeff Rotz, 3 or 4 years ago. So we're taking advantage of that. And then Senate Bill 1. And this is where I stop being nice, right? So take advantage of this public policy program, take advantage of this public policy program, because the data says we need houses. All of Indiana needs houses, but particularly counties like Henry. We did a housing study. That's just not Corey Murphy making numbers up. And so that's the real consequence. Are we going to be able to get this done? Probably. If it weren't for the Ready One funds coincidentally becoming available, this would be really tough to do. The advantage of the IFA program is the interest rate. It's 3.15%. private financial institutions will buy TIF bonds, but they won't buy them at 3.15% in this environment. And so that's a real motivator for the developer to continue pushing on and digging, deep into the pocket. And the developer has shared his numbers with me. Yes, he is making a little bit of money, but there is a ton of risk because if the bonds aren't paid, the Indiana Finance Authority contractually and rightly turns to him and says, make the payment. That payment is $85,000 a year for about 20 years. And so there is risk involved here. But I want to end on a good note. We've identified the gap and we think we have a way forward. But I wanted to tie those two updates. What happened to the 190? Where is it likely going? And then the impact of Senate Bill 1 on a residential development project. Essentially, and I'll close with this, essentially the taxes generated aren't sufficient to pay for the public infrastructure necessary to support those houses. That is the state of property taxes in Indiana. Not sufficient to pay for the public infrastructure that all enjoy so those homes can be built there. If the developer were to have to pay for the public infrastructure, this project would not happen because the price point would be well above what they're advertising. And they're advertising $280,000. It could be double. And this is actually a pretty efficient place. It's like, now I'm going to argue with myself here. And you get to be the benefit. We'll find a better place. You got water and sewer right there. So there's not a long extension to this. I wouldn't call this urban sprawl. It's right next to an existing residential development. We're not going out into the county and going, this 40 acres looks good and it's 2 miles away from water and sewer. That's not the case. It's right there. And so there's an opportunity, there's a challenge. That concludes my update unless you have other questions.
I don't have any other than we all share your displeasure in SB1. So that's a given.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see anybody for Josh Pestle. Angela. Surveyor's office, do you have anything? Green. Let's see. Mr. Upchurch, do you have anything? Jody? Okay. Brian? Good. Mandy? Glad everybody's good. Troy? Well, that pretty much runs through everybody.
We're excited about the grant that you received, Troy. Congratulations.
Okay, next on our itinerary, we have some quotes and proposals from Piney Engineering. We have a water sewer injection pump that has failed. The backup pump for now is keeping up. Placement of that pump is $9,839. Supposedly, we're supposed to allow 4 to 6 weeks if the order is placed for the pump to arrive. And there is a comment, there is no tariffs on this. Do I have a motion to approve this quote?
I'll make a motion to approve the quote.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have replacing a vent pipe to the regulators for the last boiler. I had a discussion this morning with our maintenance guys. Seems like this, I'm not saying we don't approve it, but this was an insurance thing. Apparently there was some boiler failure in Connorsville or someplace, and now this has been like this since it's been installed. It's never been an issue. Now all of a sudden it is an issue, and it needs to be upgraded to a 2-inch pipe from the 1.25 pipe that it has now, which has never been a problem, and no code to say that it has to be done, but the insurance provider, or they are going around saying this was not on their priority list, but now it is due to an accident and failure somewhere else. So now we're going to have to address this. So the quote for replacing all this piping is $2,875. Do I have a motion or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Final quote is for the chemical for the feed tanks for the hot water system and the chilled water system. The tank and the pipes will be installed or insulated by a professional. Price for this is $2,715. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next up for discussion is the change order from DLZ for our courthouse renovation for the ceiling. The change order cost was $9,830. Is there any discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Starting to really hate this microphone today. Next up, we have a stop loss application that was provided for Gerber Life Insurance. This is something we are in discussions with, I'm assuming. There are no, doesn't appear to be additional costs. Says we have an estimated enrollment of 88 singles, 32 employees and spouses, 38 children, and 35 families, or 193 composite. You have any information on that, Stephanie? Just the renewal? So do I have a motion to renew this?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next up, I have a reappointment. Seth Stevens and Lois Cook to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals from Jody Brown. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Reappoint Seth and Lois. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the resolution 2025-05-14007, expenditure of revenue abatement from the opioid money. Would you like to comment on that, Joel?
These are just the expenditures you approved at the last meeting. This just puts it formally within the list of other expenditures that you've approved.
So this is the 36,000 to Women's Recovery and 65,000 to Hope Initiative.
Yep.
And make a
So that's
motion
just
to
to
approve.
finalize. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any
Sorry.
changes.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I do have a couple other items that were basically informational. One was to thank Troy for his application and his grant that it was awarded. We did have the letter. I signed it, I think, yesterday and sent it in to them, so that has been taken care of. The second one is an informational thing that I did forward to Jerry Cash and Jeff Ray. Keystone Cooperative out at Dunreath is wanting to drill some test wells, and they're wanting to drill them on the trail property. I included them on there to help assist with the location so they don't put these test wells in the middle of their trail, that they would have some input on the location of said wells, do water testing for the Keystone property that's out at Dunreath. So other than that, is there any comment from the public? Yeah. It's going to the council. Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.